New intro. So much love and appreciation to those of you who have been with me for the 2 year period plus that I've been doing this. Thank you for showing your love and support to the channel. And to anybody else who is brand new to the platform and you would like to support the channel, also you can do it by way of Patreon, Anchor, the clothing store, and also the shoe shop that is listed in the comment description below. And again, thank you to any and all of you guys who have been here to support this channel during the 2+ year period. I wouldn't be able to do what I do every single day without you.
Mother says that her 15-year-old son was attacked and beaten with a belt by a man who lives in their neighborhood. Caitlin Ross joins us now with more. Caitlin, home security footage caught the whole thing on camera. I cannot imagine as a parent having to watch that.
The footage is hard to watch, but Malik Sims' mom thinks it's important that people see it. Not only that they see what happened, but see how her son responded to the violence. The video footage is grainy, but the audio is clear as Latika Sims says a 29-year-old man attacked her 15-year-old son.
I was just panicked. I was just like, in 2021, I cannot believe that a fully grown man would think that it was okay to come outside with a belt.
She says her son Malik was playing basketball with his cousins in Villa Rica when their next-door neighbor came outside.
When you see the video, he's running full speed at my son, and my son is caught off guard. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Police say that man is Matt Martell. In a police report, he says he was upset about the kids swearing. In a video, it appears Martell grabs the front of Malik's shirt before the pair go off camera, and you hear a crash.
He was holding me with his hands on my neck, and he threw me up against the garage, and I hit my head. And
Malik says he was in shock, but knew he didn't want to get in trouble for fighting back.
My son played football. He has played every sport. He is capable of defending himself. But the reality is he know that he could not defend himself. So he walked away.
Latrika Sims rushed over as fast as she could and called police, but says she still can't understand how this happened.
I worked in child care 15 years. I have had kids say crazy things to me. I have had kids throw things at me. I have never once thought, you know what? Let me take my belt off and beat somebody else's kid.
She wishes the neighbors would have called her if they were concerned about his language. She says there is no excuse for the violence.
Everybody else's kids is outside playing, so why my kids can't go outside and play too?
Matt Martell was arrested on charges of assault, battery, cruelty to children, and disorderly conduct. More on that at 6.
Like I said, let me just repeat this one more time for a lot of the people in the back that like to believe in all of this other nonsense going around. This is why it is important to have black fathers. This is why it is important to have black fathers. This is why it is important to have black fathers. Because at no point in time, if it was known that a black man was residing in that household, he wouldn't have rolled out of his house with a belt to sit up there and try to push that kid into that garage and beat him. That wouldn't have happened. That wouldn't have happened. Let me know. Somebody show me how many times out of American history have you sat up there and seen or heard that Caucasians are sitting up there rolling out of their house to sit up there and beat their own kids with belts? That don't even be happening. That don't even be happening. That should tell you something. You know how many times I done seen Caucasian men and women just having their kids roll up and down Walmart, Myers, Kroger, whatever mall it is, and they got them on leashes, or they just sitting up there spazzing out on the floor like they ain't got no sense, and they not sitting up there pulling out a belt. But you mean to tell me, out of all of those kids that he could be beating, including the ones that end up being, shooting up the schools, right? He could be going through those communities and sitting up there getting towards those kids, trying to fix those problems, but that's not what he want to do. He feels that he has the full-fledged right, the God-given right, to roll out of his house, go into somebody else's yard, and beat somebody else's kids with a belt, specifically black kids. People don't see a problem with that. People don't see a problem with that. Now, you're going to have some people online that are more likely going to say, they're going to be like, oh, well, you shouldn't be using profanity. You shouldn't be cussing. I'm not saying it's right, but maybe if there was discipline in the household, let's put it like this. Maybe if there was more discipline in the Alabaster community, your kids wouldn't be shooting up schools. Your kids wouldn't be shooting up all types of narcotics. Your kids wouldn't be sitting up there committing suicide. Your kids wouldn't be sitting up there threatening to kill you. Your kids wouldn't sit up there and be cussing you out. Your kids wouldn't be doing a whole bunch of unnecessary things that they shouldn't be sitting up there doing, but they're doing it because you allowed that to take place in your community, in your household. Better yet, let me let somebody else explain this a little bit better.
White women are the biggest hindrance to moving racial equality forward because we have more influence over the raising of our children than anybody else, and white supremacy grows in our homes. And we are the ones teaching our children if only they would behave this way, speak this way, or dress this way, maybe they would have equality. And I will not argue this with anyone.
Now, see, I had to add that in there because I had to add the shut the up method, because I know a lot of people will decide to say that, oh, you can't say all, and what proof do you, and all of this. You don't have nothing to roll back on. One of your own women basically told you that the reason that a lot of these things are allowed is because you have your own women raising and allowing these things to transpire, fostering these things within their homes, within their teachings, within their educational system, within their communities, within their families. So like I said before, at the end of the day, the reason why he decided to come out the house and do that is because he felt that he had the full right and power to do so, because that's the way that he was raised, and that's the way that he also sees and interprets black people. He sees himself as the master, and he sees black people as the slaves. So as the master, he's going to sit up there and go out of his house to keep his slaves in check. And that's clearly what the message that he was sending to that young man. That's clearly the message, because he already knew that that young man was not going to come at him aggressively. He already knew that that young man wasn't aggressive. So he already knew where he was standing. He already knew that that young man was not going to be combative. So he already knew where he was standing. He already knew that both that young man and the other young man that was with him playing basketball was not going to do anything to stop what was taking place. So he already knew where he stood. Because at a moment in time, if those two young men were the type where if you were going to buck up on them, they were going to buck back, he would have stayed back because he would already knew what it was. He wouldn't even have even tried them at all. He wouldn't have stepped out of his house. He wouldn't even have looked in their direction because he would already knew what time it was. As soon as he would have saw them on sight, they would have got him. But like I said before, he knew what he was dealing with. Even a mother sat up there and stated, she said, my son, he plays football. He plays all types of sports. He's highly physical. He knows how to defend himself. But he decided to not do that because he didn't want to get in trouble, AKA he did it out of fear. Like I said, fear is one of the strongest weapons known to man. So strong that you can have people with no type of weapon literally show up to somebody else and invoke that type of energy on them that it will make some people cower or second guess their own decision making. Like I said before, this is why it is important to have a black father in the household. This is why it is important to have a black father in the household. This is why it is important to have a black father in the household, because I promise you, this would not have been allowed to go on. This would not have taken place because that guy would have been put in his place as soon as he would have stepped out. As soon as that father, even if the father, right, was at work, if he would have heard what would have happened, he would have sat up there and scurried home real quick. And he would have put his foot right in that man's ass real quick. And y'all would have heard a whole different story on the news. And again, specifically, I don't know her situation. I don't know if they're presenting this as if the father is not in the picture, if he's not at home. I just know what I was able to see. But I'm stating to every other woman out here who wants to believe the narrative that you can do everything by yourself, that you don't need a man to help you raise your kids, you don't need a black father in the household and all this other stuff. Let this situation, let this incident be a prime example. Because just as easily as he was able to run up on that young black boy with a belt, he could have ran up on that young black boy with something else and just snuffed out his life. And then we will be talking about something completely different. And then people will want to start talking about, oh, but where are the black fathers at? Where are the black fathers? How come you're not here to... Like I said before, man, people can keep believing that narrative if you want to. And then stuff like this is going to continue to get by every single time up until something worse happens. And then you're going to end up having a boo-boo face. But anyways, let me know what y'all think about this video and everything that I stated in the comment description below. And as always, peace, love, and stay tuned for for the next video.